What is the most effective revision strategy? Ever wondered about it? As we journey through the realm of learning, the quest for the perfect revision strategy is a constant companion. We've all tried rereading, summarizing, highlighting, and a myriad of other techniques, each with its own merits. But the real question is, which one truly makes the knowledge stick? Which one turns the temporary into the permanent? Among these strategies, one stands out for its effectiveness: active recall. So what exactly is active recall? Well, it's a bit like having a conversation with yourself where you're both the one asking the questions and the one providing the answers. You see, when we're learning something new, it's not enough to just read or listen to the information. We need to actively engage with it to really make it stick. Think about it. When you're having a conversation, you're not just passively absorbing what the other person is saying. You're actively thinking about their words, formulating responses, and making connections to other things you know. This is fundamentally what active recall is all about. Active recall is the practice of going beyond reading or listening. It's about asking yourself questions about what you've read or heard, and then trying to answer those questions without looking at the material. It's about making your brain work a little harder to retrieve the information from your memory. And why is this important? Because when you force your brain to recall information, you're strengthening the neural pathways that connect to that information. It's like exercising your muscles. The more you use them, the stronger they get. And the same principle applies to your brain. The more you practice recalling information, the better your brain gets at retrieving it when you need it. Active recall, in essence, is the practice of making your brain work to retrieve and use the information you're trying to learn. Now that we know what active recall is, let's delve into how it works. Active recall, as its name suggests, is all about actively retrieving knowledge from your memory. Instead of merely rereading textbooks or notes, which is a passive activity, active recall requires you to actively engage with the material, recalling the information without looking at your notes. So how does this process strengthen neural connections? Well, picture your brain as a city with an intricate network of roads. Each piece of information you learn is like a destination in that city. The first time you visit a destination, you need to use a map. But as you visit more often, you start to remember the route. Eventually, you no longer need the map. You've created a neural pathway in your brain to that piece of information. Active recall is like repeatedly driving that route, strengthening that pathway, making it quicker and easier to reach the destination. But it's not just about remembering facts. Active recall is also about understanding concepts and making connections. When you actively recall information, you're not just remembering a fact, you're understanding the context, the why, and the how. You're weaving a complex tapestry of knowledge where each thread is connected to several others. Let's say you're learning about the human heart. When you first learn the fact that the heart pumps blood, that's one thread. But then you learn why it pumps blood, how it does so, what happens when it doesn't work properly, and so on. Each new piece of information is another thread connected to the first. As you actively recall each piece of information, you're not just strengthening one thread, you're strengthening the whole tapestry. Remember, learning is not a spectator sport. When you engage in active recall, you become an active participant in your own learning process. You're not just absorbing information, you're interacting with it, challenging it, and in doing so, you're making it your own. Active recall transforms learning from a passive intake of information to an active, engaging process. But don't just take our word for it. The effectiveness of active recall is backed by science. From the hallowed halls of renowned academic institutions to the cutting-edge laboratories of cognitive researchers, there's a robust body of evidence that attests to the superiority of active recall. Let's take a trip down memory lane to the year 1973. A group of psychologists led by Fergus Fudd M. Craig and Robert S. Lockhart proposed the levels of processing model. This study underscored the importance of actively engaging with information to secure it in long-term memory. Fast forward to the 21st century, specifically to the year 2009, Jeffrey Karpicki and Janelle Blunt from Purdue University published a study in the journal Science. Their research found that students who used active recall outperformed their peers who used passive study methods by a whopping 60%. And it's not just about quantity, but quality too. A 2012 study by Donlosky et al., published in Psychological Science in the Public Interest, ranked active recall as the most effective of 10 commonly used learning techniques. So the evidence is clear. Active recall isn't just a passing fad or a trendy buzzword. It's a scientifically validated, proven method to make your study sessions more productive and your knowledge more durable. So next time you're revising, remember to make active recall your go-to strategy. In a nutshell, active recall is not just another study buzzword. It's a proven strategy that involves bringing information to mind rather than simply rereading or rewriting notes. It's the act of testing yourself, pushing your brain to retrieve and apply knowledge. This process strengthens neural connections, making recall easier over time. Researchers have shown it to be incredibly effective for long-term retention. Implement active recall into your study routine and experience the difference it makes. Happy studying.